Only here, TCU.
Welcome to Only Here. Only here, as in only here at TCU can you experience top-tier academics, game-changing research, big-time athletics, all on a campus with a small-town feel, but in a top 5 media market. I'm Chancellor Pullen. Join me for exclusive conversations with Horned Frog and community leaders. Hey everybody, I'm excited about this week's guest and our topic. I'm with who I think is America's top mayor, the mayor of Fort Worth, Mattie Parker. Thank you for joining us on
Chancellor,
Only Here.
for having me. Happy to be on campus.
Absolutely. It's always great to see people from the community, great leaders like yourself, really embrace the on-campus environment, the energy and enthusiasm, the innovation that's going on, and really the smiles that
Sure.
that our students bear every day. And I guess that's probably why year after year we continue to be ranked as having the nation's happiest students. And we've got so many happy Fort Worthians about what's happening.
It all
here.
coincides together, right?
It really does. One of the things that I learned when I moved to Fort Worth a number of years ago is that it's really one of the only places I've been where I felt like everybody was for you. Mm-hmm. Like everybody is on the home team, and that's kind of the basis for the theme today is the hometown teammates that we have between the city of Fort Worth and Texas Christian University.
Yes, yeah.
And so in so many ways, I've just loved the partnership over the years, and certainly what I've seen. But this partnership has really lasted over a century now since TCU moved to Fort Worth, and I've been in higher education about 2 decades now, and I've seen a lot of other institutions, and I can't point to a finer town and gown relationship than what we enjoy between Fort Worth and TCU. And we both have big aspirations over the next decade and beyond, and so I'd love for our listeners to hear a little bit about your vision for Fort Worth, and then and point out any intersections on how TCU can continue to be a good partner, but maybe even expand our partnership to have a broader impact in the community.
Well, again, thanks for having me on campus. I actually started my day here, fun fact. I ran at TCU track this morning with a bunch of friends, running in circles, because that's what it's about, right? Your track here is available to people across the city. Love running campus. I run here often early in the morning. It's just a reminder of how important this institution is to our city. It's a beautiful campus, so congratulations on that as well. And congratulations on your role. I don't think we've had an interview like this since you were deemed our chancellor. So, if you think about the importance of growth in Fort Worth and that story, TCU is a huge part of that. And we're so blessed in our community to have excellent higher education institutions, but our anchor institution is really TCU, right? And I think that you and I have enjoyed a close friendship and partnership in the city, but that legacy has continued decades behind us, right? Of making sure that as TCU continued to grow and thrive, the city was right alongside it to help support each other. Yeah. And obviously right now we're both at this important juncture in growth and opportunity in the city. So when I get this question a lot, what is my vision for the city of Fort Worth? My vision belongs to the citizens, right? My job is to be a shepherd for that vision and making sure we're stewarding the future well over the time period that I'm your mayor, and working alongside the entire city and business leaders, community leaders. But my vision really is around a few things based on what I hear from community. It's maintaining that high quality of life that people want and hold on to really in the city of Fort Worth. How often have you heard that Fort Worth is a small town with a big city, right? Appeal to it. We want that to remain, but at the same time, we want to progress and move forward. And I often say this too, that growth has an immense amount of responsibility. I'm sure you feel that too, as you want to double the size of your student body and think about your 10-year strategic plan. The same thing is true for the city of Fort Worth. Ours just looks a little bit different. If you think about the infrastructure of running a city and running it well, those things have to be focused on. We have an excellent city management team that runs our city day in, day out. But also partnership is the critical piece there. And no city, candidly, does it better than Fort Worth when it comes to public-private partnership. And I think our relationship with TCU is just a great example of that.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel that. And obviously, there's any of our growth and expansion plans necessarily have to be done in partnership. So thank you for dreaming with us and creating a pathway to growing, but growing the right way. I have the opportunity to be in some of the conversations about Fort Worth's future. I think you're in all of the conversations about Fort Worth's future. But what strikes me is just the collaborative nature, the civility with which various leaders with various roles and objectives come together to get to the best right plan. And they're big ideas, and then they're very specific initiatives. And one of the things that I admire about you is you have the capacity to think big and to dream and understand kind of the macro forces that are going to drive success. But you also have passion projects, things that you want to roll up your sleeve and dig into and be on the front lines and sort of model the behavior that we seek in our community. And one of those is the Good Natured Green Spaces initiative.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I'll be happy to. Importantly, TCU, I think, is at the table in every single one of the initiatives we've started. So thank you for that and lending your expertise and your entire team across your university. Specific to Good Nature, and you know this because we sat down early when you brought this 10-year strategic plan, we walked through this amazing vision for the city. But you guys know this because of where you are in the community. Our city is fast growing. So what does that look like for the built environment? We're 350 square miles. We're only half developed, which is mind-boggling, right, to think about what we're going to be in the next 20, 30 years. So when I first took office, I had a passion around this well before that, thinking about outdoor space, green space, park space. We have an excellent parks department, but we need to do more. And we did not have in the city of Fort Worth any kind of conservancy effort focused on maintaining the built environment of our city. I often joke that we can all be environmental stewards. You can all be environmentalists. You have to debate the issues of the day. Do you care about clean air and beautiful trees and clean water and parks for your kids to go play? The answer is always yes. And so as a city, we really have to lean into that. So Good Nature's had several goals. Number one is which to acquire or protect at least 10,000 acres over the first 5 years, and we're well on our way to do that. We have an excellent green space champion that wakes up every single day in the city of Fort Worth. Allison, thinking about what we're going to do into the future, creating partnerships, working with philanthropy. And we're just really getting started. There's some really exciting things coming out in the next few months around Good Natured. But importantly, these conversations I've started to have organically with developers have now launched into everyone thinking differently about what their responsibility is to literally lean into this effort around Good Natured. And you were one of those. When you thought about your 10-year strategic plan and this beautiful campus, you immediately said, okay, we need to integrate this green space opportunity into our overall plans for the city, for TCU, but also how the city's impacted. So thank you for that. And I think, I really know in the next 5 to 10 years, as all of these big plans for TCU come out, alongside the work we're doing for Good Natured, it's all going to make sense to people and truthfully be something you and I can be proud of well into the future. As a mayor, you're only there for a finite period of time. One thing I learned among many things working for elected officials for 20 years is you're never going to be done. Right, you're never going to have completed everything. So start initiatives that really do have, in this case, roots from a tree that will continue to be here across the city, and that's what we're really attempting to do with Good Natured.
Yeah, well, we definitely want to continue to be additive to that vision, and certainly we see the immediate and direct benefits of green spaces and gathering points where people can come together, and it creates a sense of community, a sense of engagement in many ways, and I think that's why even at TCU we see happy students, retained students, graduated students, and then well-placed students upon graduation that can be part of the evolving workforce needs and solutions to Fort Worth's long-term plan.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't know this, but we're a majority out-of-state university, meaning more students are attracted beyond Texas's borders to TCU than we have Texans. But there's something so magical about the environment, whether it's the built environment in this case, or the culture, entertainment, or just the friendliness of Fort Worthians that motivates well over a majority of our students to actually stay right here upon graduation. And so, putting on my economic developer hat for a second, we're a net importer of talent, and how we make people feel and engaged, and the sense of connected community that's created both on and beyond campus has everything to do with that success.
Mm-hmm. And they leave their hearts here at TCU, right? I mean, even if students go off into the workforce and build businesses, they're always connected to our city in some way because of, to your point, how it made them feel and their 4 years or whatever it is that their time here at TCU and how important that was to their formative years. And now we're realizing because Fort Worth is growing and succeeding, we have more businesses coming here, and economic development piece is really coming together. Now they're staying here, which is what we want also.
Yeah, well, somebody else that just left their heart here is the mayor of Dallas.
Oh,
I think there was a friendly wager on the.
Eric and I have a good time with that.
Yeah,
sure.
How did bring us kind of under the hood on that? Yeah. How did that friendly wager?
Well, it's all in good jest. Eric's easy because he loves sports. If you notice on Twitter, he's always gigging somebody about something. But this was a big game for us, right? The last Iron Skillet game for foreseeable future. That's above my pay grade. I have no idea how that goes. But the rivalry between SMU and TCU has always been significant. I felt really good going into the game. So thank you to the Horned Frogs for making sure they followed through. And we had a lot of fun with it. So kudos to Eric Johnson. Because there was a game a few years ago, I think by 2022 maybe, where we played and we lost, and I received a SMU jersey that I had to wear at a council meeting that had my name on the back with a big number 2.
Oh.
So this year, my wager was actually towards Good Natured, and he, giving us $10,000 march towards that initiative. And I think that's important. I'll mention this is we joke about football. What a great opportunity to bring two cities together, two communities. We have plenty of SMU fans here, and there's a lot of Dallas TCU Horned Frogs, as you well know. But how powerful this whole region is. Over 8 million people and growing and thriving. We want the city of Dallas to be successful. We want Fort Worth, Plano, Frisco, Arlington, Bedford, doesn't matter. And we're about to be the 3rd largest metro region, which is, I think, a contributing factor to why TCU is also successful, right? This momentum that we see across North Texas. So, of course, go Frogs. So sorry, Mustangs. It was really fun to win that game.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it was fun to watch that crowd, an amazing student section. We're well over 50% of our
They stayed in place, and it was hot.
It was, it was burning hot.
Yes.
I think it was an early, late morning start.
Yeah.
And they cheered loud, and they stayed late. And, I'm proud of the student athletes, of course, on the field, but I'm really proud of their friends in the stands. All of our student
Important
body.
to be supported, absolutely.
Yeah. And then all the other fans, it was a morning game, and so there were other universities playing other games later in the day. And as I walked around the various tailgates and crowds, I knew the TCU alums, but I saw a lot of great Fort Worth leaders who I know went to maybe other schools for undergrad, but there they were, dressed in their purple, cheering on
As
TCU.
I said, TCU's an anchor. People really do love this university.
Yeah. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think a lot about is not just the environment in our traditional campus, but how might we broaden our impact in other areas of the community. And probably the foremost example of that is the decision for us to open the Burnett School of Medicine in the near South Side neighborhood, in the heart of the Medical Innovation District, and continue to partner on superior healthcare outcomes for our citizenry as we shore up certain areas of shortfall. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Medical Innovation District and then maybe some of the collaboration that we're undertaking?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, the Medical Innovation District is really still in its infancy and collaboration with all the healthcare partners, institutions, which is a really powerful example of the good things in Fort Worth, right? To your point earlier, civic leaders, business leaders coming together with complex problems, because we know we're incredibly fortunate to have the ecosystem of this amazing healthcare district already. Right. And so what does it look like to take that to the next level? And I think that's obviously where higher education comes in to create those dots. And the medical school is at the center of that. And what tremendous thought leadership it was by TCU to make this all come to fruition, right? I actually got to be on the first trip to Florida with Dean Flynn and a few others to look at another medical school that sort of sprang up out of the ground to see what that was look like. And Paul Dorman, who's been a longtime supporter, took a group of us out there, and to think how quickly it's been successful. And now y'all are graduating the next generation of doctors, clinicians at the bedside across the country, which is tremendous. I talk to families all the time that are so excited about what that school means to their family and, importantly, their future doctor. They want to get educated here. But specifically around the TCU School of Medicine, my experience with Burnett and Dean Flynn and the entire team is the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
What can we do to help? They also have this amazing relationship with other doctors, clinicians, nurses across the community that love being on faculty and working with academia to make sure that these students are graduating ready to serve patients across the country, because we do have a shortage. We understand that. I think for me, the most immediate need I had when I first took office was this work around maternal infant health and mortality. We know we have a significant issue in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Tarrant County for decades has had the very dubious distinction as having one of the highest, the second highest in Texas of maternal deaths for Black women specifically. And we've struggled with these issues around maternal health and infant mortality. Where were our deficits? And this podcast is too short for us to really dive into the details, but importantly, it has worked tremendously. It would not have worked without Dean Flynn and TCU. Because I met to him immediately and I said, I need to bring legitimacy to this effort. We want to put every single hospital system around the table, every single nonprofit. And because of his convening power alongside the mayor's office, our ability to get things done is tremendous. And we're planning a big announcement in November around some of our work. And it's not a ribbon cutting, it's not a groundbreaking. Right. We're saving lives. Yeah. Right? And the power of using these medical students as a part of this that are helping advise us through this work and thinking about this differently from their generation, but also completely changing the system that we had in place in Tarrant County, connecting the dots, creating a closed loop system, and once again, really making a difference and being a leader. So I'm infinitely grateful to your team there.
Well, I love the way we're seeing tangible impact. I love to see the partnership, and selfishly, I love that we're leveraging this to complement the academic process. So many of our students in the Burnett School, as well as in our Harris College of Nursing and Health Sciences, and our College of Science and Engineering, even our Neely School of Business, are touching this project in ways that they're seeing what a well-educated college student slash citizen, the scaled impact they can have if they choose to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so I think we're strengthening the career narratives of our students and the likelihood of them to lead with a service mindset.
Well, and doesn't it feel good to say we have a complex problem that we haven't been able to solve for decades? And why is that in this amazing community with all these resources? But to your point about talent and thought leaders around the table with different perspectives, that is the power of higher education, typically. And I've seen that in spades with this work. And so again, to have just our last meeting, a young woman from your communications department spoke up and said, we're working on how to communicate these issues and these opportunities for moms, and that's the entire Schieffer School of Communication behind us, right? That's pretty powerful.
Absolutely, and that says a lot, not only about our partnership, but I think the culture on campus here. Many institutions of higher education have allowed themselves, kind of by academic discipline, to be very balkanized and sort of take a fixed pie approach. But one of the things that attracted me to TC all those years ago was to see the collaboration horizontally across the institution, to know that we're about 1 + 1 = 5 answers, right? And not just how do I get my biggest share of the pie. And so I think as we look ahead and find ways to continue to extend into Fort Worth and how we collaborate to make not only TCU better, but this great town even better, you'll see the best of TCU come to bear in a very connected, coordinated way.
Love that.
One of the things that I'm really excited about the TCU strategic plan is that we unapologetically elevated athletics to one of our 4 core pillars, along with student-centered growth and becoming a Tier 1 research institution, and then of course community engagement. One of the impacts that we have on Fort Worth, and I think one of the things that TCU benefits from Fort Worth, is around sports and the economic development and the spirit and the gravitational pull that TCU athletics certainly has, but also some of the things we're thinking about in the community around possibly supporting the World Cup that's coming next summer, and as you know, we're set to play a game in Ireland in the Aer Lingus Classic, and we're already starting some of those economic development conversations between great Fort Worth businesses and businesses in Ireland, and how international trade can be facilitated. So it's more than just a football game. So if you think about sports and the role and how Fort Worth develops, what's your reaction? How do you think about that as a catalyst?
Well, ironically, the city, at the same time, TCU's athletic prowess continued to rise, right? In every sport, from football to baseball to tennis, track, girls soccer team, could keep going down the list.
Volleyball this year,
volleyball, absolutely, so fun to watch. Our personal favorite usually come to basketball games, but that's David's influence on the family. But I would say this, that we started to recognize what is our role in the sports tourism role. We're not home in Fort Worth to a professional sports team. Right. And look, we would love to go back in time and try to change that reality, but let's embrace what is. And the Sports Tourism Board and the focus from Visit Fort Worth in partnership with the city had already started. Along the same time, TCU was leaning into that. And to your point, specifically around TCU opportunities, now we're looking at 2026 World Cup, that bid would have only worked across North Texas working together for FIFA to be convinced this is where you should have the most games played of all locations across North America, which is incredibly exciting. Multiple Super Bowls can't achieve what a World Cup does to our city. We hope a home team will be here at TCU campus, right? They'll call your campus home during those games. But all that to say, we have to think about the role that that role that sports plays in economic development. And we're embracing that here in the city, absolutely. You have huge tournaments that are played here. Probably most notable is the NCAA basketball tournament that's here as part of it. The NCAA Women's National Gymnastics Championships, which is a ton of fun to watch those young women compete at the best and brightest. So we're going to continue to do that work. We're anchored, of course, by by Dickies Arena, which is a huge point of help there. But TCU is a part of that, and we're incredibly thankful for it as well. And the city loves the sports aspect of course, of the TCU bringing economic impact. And I was very fortunate to be mayor, newly elected when the national championship came around.
Yes.
And thinking about the economic boom that created for our city and putting Fort Worth on a national stage for the first time was incredibly exciting for our city.
Yeah, well, I love it, and I agree. And it's fans alone, they fill our hotels.
Yes, they do.
And support our restaurants and all the other great amenities and the zoo and it all works together. And just another proof point of how in step we are, because it sounds like as you think about Fort Worth economic development strategies, like you think about TCU's strategic plan, right? Athletics have both been raised to the highest.
Yeah, it was smart business on your part, right, to elevate that and just lean into what is a reality, right? It's a huge bonus experience for students. Sometimes it might be the delineating point, and the fact that TCU is a smaller university and has the opportunity to have a top-notch education, but also has amazing sports programs for you to enjoy as a student is a pretty good thing for y'all.
Yeah, we feel that way. But that's not the only way we're helping to drive the economy. One of the things that I'm proud of is that from starting with many members of our board of trustees to faculty leaders to alumni and others in the community, we're really focused on being a market-driven university, building a university for the rest of the 21st century that starts with what's needed in society, economically or otherwise, and then works backwards to prepare the future leaders to execute on those needs. We're prioritizing a lot of areas. We've talked about sort of the health sciences. There's a lot going on as it pertains to science, engineering, aerospace, what's happening at Alliance. Obviously, we're leaning into our legacy strength around natural resources, everything below the ground with the Ralph Lowe Energy Institute, everything on the ground like the TCU Real Estate Center, everything that trots on top of the ground, the Ranch Management Institute, and everything above the ground through our environmental sciences, including even outer space. So there's a lot of that's connected to some of the economic priorities of Fort Worth. So let us, what's going on there? Where can we find that commonality?
Well, and I think it's important to note that's unique for our institution to be that leaned into what the future looks like and where the talent workforce needs are meeting and making sure your students are doing that. So I just have to commend the university that's had that tradition, but it continues to accelerate, which is very important. There's a few different areas I think are notable. You mentioned Hillwood in particular. Yeah. Think about their work around the Mobility Innovation Zone. Okay. What does the future of transportation and transit look like? And that's all happening really right here in North Texas. And that's everything from autonomous trucking, right, to flying taxis to get you to Dallas. It doesn't really matter which mode. All of that innovation and research is happening now as a hub at Hillwood, which is tremendously important to all of us. On the real estate front, I just participated in the event here at the Real Estate Center, which was great fun. I know I missed you in your discussion, but they had Ross Perot Jr. here to speak about the future of real estate and the importance and where his perspective is, especially right now as he's chair of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And that's pretty special that TCU could bring a speaker of that caliber here to really lean in and think about the importance of development in real estate across the country. And so all of those things are really a synergy here in the city of Fort Worth, and we get to participate in that. I think the other thing I would mention around defense and manufacturing in particular, you're seeing really a renaissance around some of these largest projects in our country's history. And most notable recently was the Bell contract awarded for vertical airlift, largest in the Army's really their tenure. Big shout out to Lisa Atherton, who's an excellent CEO there. So that sector continues. Of course, the F-35 is manufactured here in the city of Fort Worth, an incredible sense of pride that we have there. And if you shift over to another great TCU alum, of course, is Katie Farmer at BNSF.
Sure, yeah.
Continues to be a bedrock industry around transportation and cargo and transportation. And no one is a better champion for TCU. And she just happens to be CEO of BNSF, which is a great bonus for y'all as well. But think about those relationships that TCU holds on to help Curly really think about programming here differently on campus. So those are just some examples of leadership. And one thing I should shout out to is y'all have an excellent criminal justice program here.
Thank you.
And I've gotten to come and speak to students here before that are officers across North Texas that are finishing an executive MBA or a master's in criminal justice here on campus. And those are the best and brightest law enforcement officers in the country, and they're being trained here at TCU. And I just wanted to mention that's something you should definitely be noted for more often.
Well, thank you. We're really, really proud of that.
Yeah. Professor Non, hi to Johnny.
Yeah,
he's a reserve officer. You even have professors that are reserve officers and take the time to do it. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and that's so true of so many of our faculty. That before they found their way to higher education and that traditional training, they've actually been practitioners in their field. So virtually every entrepreneurship faculty member we've had has actually started.
Maybe that should be a challenge, right? How to bring that talent to more audiences across the city, because we have thousands of hidden jewels on campus that are experts in their own field. To your point, they were practitioners at one point, so we can work on that maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned TCU alums, and you've mentioned some economic development and their leadership role in it. One of our most recent alums who was awarded an honorary doctorate is Taylor Sheridan.
Yes.
And I missed the real estate center because I was speaking somewhere else at the time. But I understand that there was a great story that Ross Perot Jr. and Mike Berry collaborated on, talking about Ross Perot's vision of a dimension of economic development, not sports and not just science, but entertainment. And he summed it up by just saying, Landman. Talk to us about that and what's going on there.
Well, that effort around film and television production and the opportunity from an economic development perspective really started 10 years ago when we started the 4th Film Commission, seeded out of the vision of Jessica Hill and others at Visit Fort Worth to say, let's really lean into this work. We'd had the Lone Star Film Festival, which had great legacy and success, started by Johnny Langdon, and now it's continued, but more could be done. And so starting the Film Commission and then starting our advocacy efforts in Austin. And it was just a drumbeat over the last 10 years. Continue to make sure that policymakers in Austin understood the real return on investment for better incentives for film and television. Because here's the reality, they're coming somewhere. And there's been an incredible drain out of Hollywood, especially post-COVID, of these productions are going to get made, they're just not going to get made in LA anymore.
Right. And
so Texas had an opportunity to really become the premier leader. And I think because of the incentives that passed this last session, we finally were successful to get where we needed to be. I would love to pretend that I was the star power. I was not. Let me be really clear. When Matthew McConaughey showed up, suddenly everybody was listening. It's really funny to watch Texas senators try to take selfies from the dais while he's talking in the background, but that existed. All that to say, you've seen it here in Fort Worth, right? And this is really important. I talk to people a lot about this. This is legacy economic development. These are jobs that will stay here. These are opportunities into the future, right? Creating workforce now, movement from other talent across the country to be relocated here to the city of Fort Worth. Now you're shooting productions here in the city. You mentioned Taylor Sheridan. His new studio in partnership with 101 Studios in Paramount is the largest in the state of Texas now at Hillwood, right? Thanks to Ross Perot and Mike Berry. It's partnership there. We also are home to The Chosen that's filmed over in Midlothian, which is incredibly important production. Really, I think I'm correct in telling you this, one of the most streamed programs in the entire world's history. That really now hundreds of languages translated, and they just wrapped their last season, which will be The Crucifixion, which will be an incredibly powerful thing to display, and it's all filmed here in North Texas, which is incredible. And I'm proud of the partnerships we've created around this work, and really thankful for the stardom of people like Taylor Sheridan, because it's gotten noticed here in our city. But here's the cool part. And David Glasser, I'll steal a little bit of his thunder. He's the CEO, president of 101 Studios. He'll tell a funny story about, this is the first city where he literally hasn't had to pay off someone to turn off their leaf blower in front of a production, in front of a house, because he just wanted to be annoying, make a few $100s to turn off the leaf blower and go back inside his house. In Fort Worth, everybody wants to be a part of it. You'll have hundreds of people signed up to be an extra for 8 hours and wait for their turn, right? We're all leaned into the opportunity. Downtown Fort Worth, our police department, they love working with them to make sure everybody's safe and secure. Downtown street closures, our permitting process is smooth. That's not by accident. It's a tremendous amount of hard work that goes in. And we have a film commissioner here in the city. Many people don't know that. It was Jessica Hill. Now it's held by Taylor Hardy, who does a fantastic job. And I think truly in the next few years, we are going to be synonymous as one of the top cities in the country, much like Atlanta became over time.
Yeah, and again, this is another example like the maternal infant mortality initiative. It's complementing the academic process here at TCU as well, because and sure the extras, but some of our students are earning their Screen Actors Guild card, and even the behind the camera work, all the technical skills. Many of our students are involved, and they're getting the internship as part of this economic development effort, and then they're getting full-time jobs, and it's another reason to stay in this great town and this great region. region of North Texas.
Well, think about Red Sanders, who's a
yeah.
great TCU alum, and he started talking about this a long time ago. Starting his career in LA, I want to do this in Fort Worth, coming home to build his business and production studio, and that is now the reality for students here at TCU, right? And 101 in particular has been especially cognizant of the power of higher education to help train up the next generation workforce. Their partnership with TCC is powerful, which could lead those students right into TCU should they choose to do so with those entry-level opportunities. So thank y'all for embracing that, and what a gift to your students they get to be on campus here that want to be a part of it as well.
One of the things that I'm just really, really proud of is, and as we've developed the strategic plan, we talk to a lot of people, certainly students, community leaders, employers, alumni, parents, faculty, staff. But when we analyzed all that data, it really came down to these three things. What makes TCU special is that you can go to a small, mid-sized private school and have that high quality of education, with the amenities, including big-time Power Force sports of a university that typically is far larger than TCU, all set against the backdrop of a really cool town to go to college in. And everything about what we're trying to do with our strategic plan, integrating with the city, the county, this region, is designed to reinforce that differentiation in what is a really competitive higher education marketplace. And I think if TCU can win as we grow with more and even more capable and academically accomplished students, then we can be a bigger part of Fort Worth's future plan. And when you get that relationship working so symbiotically, special things are going to happen. And I know we're going to make our over 100,000 living alumni proud, and our now over 1 million Fort Worthians proud, and so many people across the entire metro. And that just doesn't happen without great leadership and great partnerships in the form of our mayor and everyone that you convene and collaborate. As we wrap up, I do want to just say this is a podcast called Only Here. And even though I still teach entrepreneurship every year, and I speak a lot on campus, I feel like you're speaking all the time here as well, and you've got many memories of TCU. Do you have one moment where you're like, wow, for me, like only here at TCU would this happen?
Is that possible? Yeah, it's a good question. I'll give you a compliment. TCU, this might surprise you. Your campus has been opened numerous times for different community events that I've been a part of, right? And sometimes they're hosted by TCU, and sometimes they're hosted by outside entities. It might be the Texas Tribune's on campus for an event that I've done that before, right? Or it's an important political debate of some sort that I've been up here for, or you're just here to visit with students on campus. And so while it's hard for me to give you one particular example, every time I set foot on campus, you're welcome. You can tell the students are excited to see you. The discourse is where it should be, right? It's healthy, and this really important discussion that's ongoing. And the room is full of people that want to do well in their community. They want to give back and do good. And I think that is a tremendous testament to the leadership under your tenure right now, and of course before you and Chancellor Bashini even before that. And I really do hope that continues. I'll close though by saying, there's nothing better than being a winning TCU football game, and I've gotten to be at a few of those in the past. And I think that year of the national championship, there are several games where my family and I were here, and getting to realize what was about to happen. And then, candidly, even it wasn't here on campus, but even getting to go to national championship.
Right.
And while it wasn't the result we wanted, there were several times the folks and I that were sitting together thought, this is pretty amazing. Yeah. Right? And I was getting texts from friends. They've said Fort Worth 45 times on the news. Like, that's what we wanted. Yeah, of course. So only here was that possible. And for this scrappy university now to be really a dominant force in higher education across the country is a huge testament to TCU and all the folks that have made it possible. So go Frogs.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Those are my favorite two words in the English language. Go Frogs. I'm so proud of the civility of our campus and the way everyone invests and pours into one another. That's not always the case across the country.
But y'all do stand out. You really do.
And then that allows us to change lives through education. That's what allows us to save lives, through some of the community-based initiatives that we talked about, and ultimately allows us to open minds, not close minds, as we prepare the next generation of citizens that we need right here in Fort Worth and really across our country.
Absolutely. Well, it was great to be in conversation with you, and anything I can do to be helpful to you or your students or faculty, I'm here for it.
I know you are. Thank you for all you do. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.